Alrighty then, it's time for another Shen game, and this one is using his latest rework. Let's check one, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are wondering, is he better or is he worse than before? Let's do it. And I can tell you that it's sort of both. In one way, he's a lot better, in a lot of ways, he's other worse. And depending on how you prefer to consider him, he's either as a fighter tanky guy or a supporty tanky guy, he's better or worse. As a fighter, he's a lot worse. As a utility guy, thanks to his new W and the fact that he's got a lot more energy to use in a very quick successive fight, he's a lot better in that aspect. So, as a jungler, because in the jungle aspect you kind of deal with having to be a fighter, he's worse. But as a utility champion coming out of the jungle, he's so much better. Though I will tell you, I liked him much more in his old version because the fighter aspect was just so much more carry potential, although he wasn't necessarily too much of a carry because, come on, tanks don't really carry all that well. His utility one, when it came to team fights and using the W properly, fucking amazing. In a fighter aspect though, when you're against one-on-one or against magic people, didn't do jack dick, and there was so many ways you could fuck it up. The old Shen though, it's like his W, it only helped you, but it helped you so much, and you could use it so well and easily. But that's a whole topic that we're going to talk about in this video because it's a big reason as to why he got changes. Now, new Shen doesn't have built-in sustain, and we all thought he was going to get his ass kicked, right? Turns out he doesn't because his new passive gives him so much shield, it's insane. And his clearing potential with his Q, while it doesn't really do anything to monsters, it gives him a buff that lets him clear rather well. He's actually faster than he used to be. And remember, Shen, Jungle Shen, was arguably the slowest jungler in the entire goddamn game that, you could actually use. So, him becoming faster is pretty big deal, although not enough to push him to insane, because being faster than your super slow self before when you were like clearing at the slowest speeds isn't really speaking much. If he became faster than someone like, let's say, Lee Sin, yeah, maybe, but he's just faster than his old self. About 20 something seconds faster at clearing the whole jungle. So he's about slightly faster than Vladimir now. So take from that what you will. Utility wise, early on he's still kind of the same thing. Dash at people, hit them a few times, hopefully your teammates follow up. Level 6, he can still do the infinite jungling, but as the game goes on, his sustain becomes less and less powerful than it used to be. Especially because Q was used to be so lenient towards your super godlike 100% sustain thing, and you didn't even need to use W in the old form. So your sustain was your energy was pretty much always ready for you to teleport in with. So his infinite sustain got kind of hurt in that way because you have to actually use your abilities, and it's not cheap in order to maintain your shield. So it's still not that big of a deal, but it is something. And he sort of slows down as the game goes on unless you build him items. The old one, because of how spammable the Q was and how really good his key strike was as you build more tank, he sort of slows down for a whole camp clear later on. He chunks big monsters down enough, so that's fine, but against camps like the wolves and the wraiths as they get stronger, he's kind of slow. But still though, he's still pretty much the same he is early game in terms of jungle clearing quality. Ganks, same kind of thing, but the big one is his damage. Shen has always had the problem with finishing people off. He never had that oomph to kill them for the last bits. He would always leave people with a sliver of health running away and surviving. That hasn't changed. In fact, it sort of became worse because that sword is so weird to use. And he doesn't have any sort of pokey thing to throw at people. He's just kind of purely auto attacks now with the occasional sword strike of some kind. So the thing though that is pretty useful is he has more upfront bursts. His damage, his huge amounts of damage comes more front loaded in his assault. So you do most of your damage quickly, and it can let you kill some people in a burst situation before they get to react appropriately or people join in. So in some aspects it became better, but in the longer fight or in a more efficient scenario, it became a lot worse, right? It's still fine though. I have mixed feelings about the sword. In one way, I like the front loaded damage. When it comes to jungle ganking, you want that kind of stuff. You want to be able to kill them as quickly as possible before the situation changes and you lose your advantage. However, that thing is so unwieldy. Like, you can fuck it up so well, but that's actually something very important to note, and I'll save that too. His W is a mixed bag. Like I said, for utility Shen, fucking powerful as hell, but it's situational, and you can also fuck that up so goddamn hard because it relies on your sword being in the right spot, right? And like me, I completely forgot what it did sometimes, and you can even say, if you rewind a little bit, you can see me that I activated too far away. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, it's attached to my sword. So it will take some time to get used to, and it is a strong ability, but it's more risky to use, right? It doesn't always have the intended effect. Nonetheless, though, again, utility strong, solo Shen skirmish mode, pretty much weakened to hell, and build wise, pretty much the same. I took the same rules and masters: attack damage rate, attack damage crits, armor on, that kind of stuff. I built him Cinderhulk, as you could see. Although after playing him in this version, I can feel that, yeah, maybe Sate to Devour, just like old Shen, can still work out. So. It might as well, because when I tried split pushing as this new version, my god, did it suck so bad. And I figure I need some attack speed somewhere in this build. It recommends Tiamat's Titanic Hydra, so that might be something more useful, I think, than Static Shiv or something later on down the line. But still, though, you know, it's, again, my first time playing the Shen, and kind of my first impressions, honestly. His global ultimate, sorry. His global ultimate is still there to allow you the infinite jungling, the surprise ganks, the surprise counter ganks, and all that other good stuff. However, there's one issue that I had. I don't know if his energy just really sucked, like energy regen, but his 400 energy didn't always feel like enough. I was burning through my abilities and my energy so quickly. There were some fights where it just kind of felt I was useless. Admittedly, his abilities are very powerful for this, so in general, so this might be a way to balance him out. But it sort of makes him a more of a bursty fighter, you know, end the fight quickly before I run out of juice kind of thing. And that brings in the actual reason they changed him. Some of my fans were worked up. Oh, why would they change Shen? He's not that big of a deal. He's not a big balance issue. But the thing is, he desperately needed a rework because he's too damn good. He's too damn good while being almost fair. And almost fair doesn't exactly make it easy to balance. Look at Shen. He's the only champion of his kind, right? He's this weird tanky fighter that's just naturally tanky. Yeah, some of you will say, Master Yi can build Sturk's Cage or some shit like that, but no, I mean old Shen had natural tanky abilities, but he had stuff that made him a tank, but not enough to actually make him work out as a tank. He played like a fighter, but he didn't have all the tools to make him a fighter. So he was this kind of like hybrid of both, right? That he just wasn't there in either one. But in metas or in situations where he fit, he was just so goddamn useful that he overshadowed everyone else. You could have the insane power of this champion, or you can have the insane utility of Shen, who could just control or completely reverse a fight with one button or one counter or whatever. He assisted everyone's maneuvers. Ari's hippity-dippity dashity stuff, the Shen teleporting on top of her, can just completely change the game. Somebody's stealth being teleported on, game changer right there. They dive the enemy carry, but Shen gets to teleport right in so it can stop the entire burst. Game changer right there. It's insane. And Shen's dash is a taunt, which is a very rare nowadays, and it goes through everybody, and it will grab everybody. Shen had a W that was just a straight out shield. It's just like, no, here you go, middle finger, stop your damage for quite a bit, and it was pretty spammable. He had energy, which has been kind of an issue for the longest time towards balancing champions, because it makes any spammable ability automatically broken, and basically you can use any ability laissez-faire without giving a fuck. Same thing as sort of Vladimir, which is another point I'll bring up in a bit. His Q had dot sustain on anybody who hit the target, and he could use it to poke at people or heal himself. So he was just this really like well-built champion alongside with stuff that only he had that it's just kind of generally unfair, but like his abilities weren't too like insanely powerful, right? So they were just ridiculously useful. So whenever Shen became useful, Riot would have to nerf him down or keep him level, and then he became okay to use. He never became bad. He became situational. But then some changes indirectly or to the whole game just happen, and all of a sudden Shen, even with his nerfs, becomes really fucking strong again or really contested because again he's just so goddamn useful. You've seen him be jungle. You've seen him be top lane. You've seen him be a support, and he's never been like in overbearing. It might be annoying, but there's ways to work around it. But again, it's just so much damn work, and he's just so goddamn good. He's one of my favorite champions. Hell, even in his version, I like it. So the reason why Riot had to rework him is because these changes allow him to have all this usefulness and power. His Q is arguably more powerful than it used to be. He traded sustain for more damage. But it's fair now because there's ways to counter it. You can work around it. You can fuck it up, and it gives them this power in in playmaking or playmaking against them. So it makes it fair. His W is no longer just W, flip the middle finger to your opponent. It's you can completely fuck the enemy team's assault by using it properly, or it can do jack dick, or you can place it in the worst spot and it does nothing. So that's just one way to balance, right? It make it riskier to use, but make it more rewarding as a result. His dash is still there, his ultimate's still there. There's still one of those more powerful abilities, but overall, he seems like Riot has some more stuff to work with now, and overall that might give some staticness to Shen. We won't see him rework every season in some way, numbers wise. I mean. That also coincidentally, I'm fighting Vladimir, who Riot has also said is going to get a rework similar to Shen, in that one of his abilities is just completely going to be removed. Apparently, Riot is planning on just saying, you know what, fuck Vladimir's Q, it just can't be too much. And Vladimir's Q sort of works the same way as Shen's Q and old W did. They just when you click them, they do something, and there's nothing you can do about it. Vladimir goes up to you, sucks your blood, heals himself, and it's just too strong. I mean, it's too strong of an ability and effect. Numbers-wise is how it can be balanced, but all it takes is something changing that Vladimir would have to be something changing that Vladimir deals with that either strengthens his Q or worsens his Q, that completely either brings him in the front fold of the game or puts him back in the dumpster. Like if all of his opponents, all of his potential opponents in lane are very passive champions that don't do anything, Vladimir's Q in its current state could become way too strong. If all of his opponents are way too aggressive and way too powerful early on, then his Q will become utter garbage because it's not enough to deal with him, right? So it's just one of those things that can't be balanced. I mean, it can be balanced numerically wise, but it can't be expected to stay balanced. And that's kind of the main thing I want you to get out of Shen in this one. So even if you don't like Shen's rework, it kind of had to happen at some point. So you just kind of have to sort of accept that, right? As far as it goes, I'm still a little bit of mixed feelings about playing him. I enjoyed him because I just love Shen, right? I just love the whole idea of infinite jungling, of being this very passive jungler that scans the area and is very careful. And kind of any play you make has to be very, very precise and decisive, because otherwise it can backfire horribly because of how he works out and because of the long cooldowns on his ultimate. So I still like him. I still like his premise and whatnot, but I don't like his new W and I don't like his new W in its entirety, and I don't like using his new Q, though I do like its benefits. But again, will he actually be used again? Will Jungle Shen become a useful thing? Probably, maybe. Well, probably, maybe. That's a weird thing to say. I know. Support, I can see support being used, right? His new W is just so much team play and completely fucks up a lot of champions. As a jungle, he's still pretty damn slow, and he still has kind of a steep gold cost comparison to a lot of other tanks, because he still has that little fighter nature into him. And he still doesn't have that he's still kind of in the middle of two kinds of subtypes of champions. So I'll reiterate that. I think Jungle Shen has a lowest chance of making it back into competitive or into main use. Low chance, but support Shen, probably a big deal. Jungle Shen has that small chance because utility is very important, and even though I like fighter more, utility just tends to, outshine it in most metas. Well, utility anything, really. So there's just more value into that right now. There's more value in this Shen than in old Shen. Just he's a lot less compact for, carrying things or just being absolutely, game controlling. He became more team reliant. So solo queue might not be the most happy place for you, but competitive or support, which you're already the bitch boy sort of, yeah, he's pretty useful. So would I recommend playing him? Support, again, support probably. I think he's one of those kinds of champions that straight out kills people and can help you carry, but although there's already a lot of competition for that, like Annie and shit. So he just might be another addition for you there. Top lane, I don't know. I've seen one top lane Shen, and he did crush his opponent, but his opponent was a Tom, so it's just kind of like a wet noodle fight throughout the whole thing anyways, and Shen just kind of out-sustained him, I guess. Jungle, I'm maybe you have a team comp like the one I did where you were pretty much just straight out damage all over the place and very aggressive laners. Probably in this situation, I think I fit pretty well. So Jungle Shen, if you're not going to be completely, absolutely goddamn countered, or if you're just playing it for fun, that's what I can tell you. Do I look forward to him? I hope I'm proven wrong, because I would definitely like to play more Shen without being yelled at people. Although that's kind of counterintuitive, because if he's played more, he'd likely just get banned anyways. Still though, I'm still testing him out, because like I said, I played tank Shen in this game, and I'm gonna try him out being a sort of pseudo fighter with a Sated Devour, likely a Shiv, and probably a Rage Blade, just to see how that works out with him. I'm gonna try that out, and I'll see how that works out. Though, or probably Trinity Force, that might just be a lot more funnier. So again, I only have half the story. I still don't know what his best build is, and that might change my opinion completely on his status right now. But so far, he gets a pass for me, right? Pass for me. Might just be my bias because I like Shen so much, but he worked out enough for me to want to try him some more. He had no outstanding issues, nothing too different from his old one in terms of, problems that need to be worked around, so again, I recommend you at least try him with your friends or something, some place where you might not backfire too much, and you get your opinions. As far as things go, though, tell me in the description below what you think of Shen, because I am actually very, very curious to know about this, because I want to expand what I know about him in his new current form. Yay. This channel is supported by my sponsors, Crunchyroll and Loot Crate. Check out the description below for links to the websites. Signing up for any trials, including Crunchyroll's free anime trial, greatly supports my channel. Also remember to give the video a like to support the channel and subscribe if you haven't yet.